few weeks ago, we discussed our top 5 cards of the Final Fantasy set. Was we right?
Let's check it out, Dan.
This week on battlechads. Hello everyone, welcome back to the battlechads channel. My name is Dan. I am joined by one of my co-hosts, Sam, and we're discussing some standard stuff, some PT stuff, some modern stuff. Sam, how are we?
Very good, very good. It's been, by the recording of this, it's been a week of Final Fantasy. Officially,
yeah.
Even though the pre-release kind of is the go live now for a lot of this sort of stuff. But so 2 weeks to a week officially. How have you found the set, Dan? Have you managed to play with it all, or just...
I've not managed to play any cards, mainly because my rental subscription won't let me rent the cards until like 2 weeks after the set comes out, something like that. But I've played against the cards. I've played against like Lightning. I've played against the small chocobo that's got landfall. Sashia's chocobo, I think it's called. So I've played against them. They seem okay.
Yep.
But I've not played standard. I've not come across against any Vivis or anything like that. So I'm yet to be fully convinced that the set's good.
Yeah, that's a pretty strong way of putting it. Have you, just before we get delving into, obviously this weekend is the Pro Tour. Are you qualified this time, Dan?
I'm not, unfortunately.
No,
not this time.
Yeah, not this time. I was busy that weekend, so it's. But no, maybe next time, mate. Maybe we'll go join Mark on Atlanta. But have you ever tested the limited format? Did you get down to any pre-releases or anything like that?
So I've unfortunately not been able to do any sealed events, the 6 booster ones, but I did manage to get off a draft on Arena. Drafted. It didn't go. It just didn't go at all. No, I drafted some like green blue pile and I went like 1-2. Yeah. I'm limited is not my strong point. I tried to just draft or construct from a seal pool like the most aggressive deck that I can, and I just didn't get any cards that I wanted to be aggressive in. It's like my pack one pick one was Traveling Chocobo, so I was like, oh, this is a great card, right? So I'm just gonna play it, and I just don't know. I don't know if it's a skill issue or I don't know.
Yeah, it's an interesting limited format because I think it's actually quite good as a limited format. I like there's a lot of legendaries in the set, and just to get out of the way of Tiki Commander set, right? That's out the way. Now let's move on to the actual playability. Draft-wise, I like it when formats are a little more focused around your uncommon legendary creatures that have good effects, because it just steers the game naturally to these quite scrappy instances, and it sort of takes away the impact of some of these bombs that we see as well. Obviously, Ragavan's pretty good. Technically, it can be in your pre-release pool. Technically, you can lose to Atraxa Grand Unifier, as this time she looks like Sephiroth, but I do like the limited format is pretty strong, and that's obviously powered by these uncommon or rare legendary creatures. I actually think it's quite fun. I've not drafted yet. Draft is really, to me, where sets prove themselves rather than seal, but no, I'm excited to give a draft a go if I get the chance.
Yeah. Well, I've seen Mengu's part of like some like the Team Worldly Council testing house, and they've been drafting set all week, and he got in his draft pick, he got a foil Vivi and the Ragavan, and he took the Ragavan, and the prize for that draft was the foil Vivi. And he just...
I take it he won.
Yeah, he just went
with the Ragavan.
Just turn one Ragavan in the 3 rounds that he played, and he just managed to win. Who knew that a turn 1 ramp spell would be good in limited, eh?
Ramp spell that draws your cards as it ramps, so actually leaves the ramp on the table as well. It's not like an impulse effect that we see. No, and also it's Mengu, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't actually matter what cards he casts, he'd get there. Well, that's enough of the limited portion. We're not a limited podcast. Let's see how Final Fantasy has actually affected those constructed formats, Dan. How's it looking?
So, in Standard, when we go back to video that we did a couple of weeks ago now, top dogs of the format was Blue-Red Prowess, Mono-Red
Yep.
Aggro, and
Mhm.
Omni Combo. Now, if we fast forward to 3 weeks, those 3 decks are still the top dogs in the format. Vivi, Ornithire, some wizard guy with a big massive hat has come into the format and just made Blue-Red Prowess absolutely insane. Jack, one of our captain on Team Chad Magic, he had mentioned that if you just cast a Monster's Rage on a Vivi the turn it comes in, then you've just got 4 mana again, so you could just sort of filter your mana, or if you cast a Vivi on turn 3, just play a load of spells, play a Monster's Rage, you've got a big massive Vivi, and you just get loads more mana, so you can cast like stock ups, so just keep on going and going and going. And unsurprisingly, we're probably going to speak more into this as we go, but that deck, the Blue-Red Prowess deck, is 46% of the Pro Tour meta, which isn't to speak volumes.
42. 42.
42. Sorry, yeah, 42.
It's only 42. Not oversell it.
So,
sorry, Dan, carry on.
42% of the meta. However, that's the Pro Tour meta because, well, firstly, we've got a BNR in a couple of weeks anyway, so the meta's just going to shift completely. Lost some train of thought now.
Well, let me jump on and be the conductor of that train of thought. So it's interesting. It's easy. So to just give it a quick run through, we've got Izzet Prowess at 42.3.
Yep.
Azorius Omniscience at 19.9. And Mono-Red Aggro is 10.9. And the previous PT winner of the main Overlords is kicking up the back at 4.2%. I'm not going to go. There is like Jund Roots, actually sounds kind of cool. Ores of Control, Golgari Roots, Boros Aggro in that itinerary, but I'm not really going to go past the main Overlords. And look, it's easy at this to look at this, and go, uh-oh. And don't get me wrong, it is a bit of an uh-oh, but Pro Tours are quite strange, aren't they, Dan? In the fact that, like, look, you've qualified for realistically the second biggest Magic event that everyone's going to tune in and watch, with number one being the World Championship. And a lot of these people have qualified in a lot of different ways. There's Modo events, there's RCs as a big one, or somebody actually have historic invites from like previous PTs and such.
Yeah.
I'm not qualified for this PT. You're not qualified for this PT.
Nope.
We both played standards over in Bologna. If you now give me an invite tomorrow, what deck am I going to play? Is it going to be some brew? Is it going to be blue-red?
It's got to be blue-red. It's like the numbers, like even Nadu wasn't this high, and Nadu was the broken deck in Modern at the time.
Nadu was 20%, I think, 21, 22-ish.
Same with like Hogak, right? If you were mentioned before, that was around the same, like 20 to 30%, and then this being like 42.6% of the Pro Tour meta, it just speaks volumes as to how good the deck actually is. And
I think it's the most popular Pro Tour deck ever.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Yeah.
And just Monster's Rage on its own is like 50% of the meta. Stock Up is 60-something%, and Corey Steelcut is like 47% of the meta. So just if you put them 3 cards into one deck, you're probably gonna have a good shot at doing well in that tournament. But then you've got to figure out the headache of what's the meta breaker, what's the mirror breaker rather. How do you beat that deck to the best that you possibly can? I know when we were in Bologna, there was a lot of Mono-Red Aggro decks, including myself, that was just mainboard and a Braid, because it was a lightning strike that killed a creature, and it just killed a Corey Steel Cutter anyway. But now we've had one new set in Final Fantasy come out, so there's a lot more cards that have been introduced into the card pool. So it's just going through that headache, going from there. But you are a combo gamer, so it wouldn't surprise me if you just picked back onto Omni.
Yeah, so Omni was a really interesting deck. I played down the main event of RC Bologna, and I can really see why people are choosing to play the Pro Tour. Now, I'm not trying to insinuate in any way that I'm of the caliber of any Pro Tour player, but what I mean is, like, on paper, Prowess is not a good matchup. They're very fast, they're very aggressive. Frustratingly enough, Temporary Lockdown, which is essentially the current gatekeeper for aggro in standards, isn't actually that good against Prowess because they play into the flood more to interact that way and bounce that back to your hand. But when it was me, George, and then some other guys testing for Bologna and Omni. Shout out to Tom Law who helped with that process. But the deck, we were kind of not really able to land on our 75 properly. And what I mean by that is, like, if you were to play Domain, most of your cards are locked, and it's a tweak hero there. There was actually at that time, which was April now, like quite a while ago, at least 2 months ago now.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, 6 minus 2 is 4, so yeah, at least 2 months ago now. But there was still a bit of confusion of the best way to play Omni. And Omni is almost shifted, ironically, to this deck with multiple game plans. Omni is the big dog. That's how you win. Casting a million free spells in turn is pretty good. But even when we were playing in Bologna, there was a lot of discussion about how you should win. So we were still playing Invasion of Archavoy.
Yep.
Sounds about right, doesn't it? And then instead we played Fandom the Third Path with Meringue River Regent, which was just so much better. I'm so happy I played that. But now these decks have sort of shifted towards Scroll Shift as being an option as well. And the thing you get to do with Scroll Shift is you get to cast your Overlords for their impending costs and then flicker them and get them back in. And obviously with a White Overlord, that makes 5 bodies, 4 of which fly, 1 of which is really good at blocking Chorus Cutter. With the Blue Overlords, that draws you 4 cards, discards 2, which is pretty good when you've got an Omni in. So it really feels like this Omni deck, which was fine, but not quite ironed out. It really feels like the pros have put it through a ringer and come up with quite a good list. And obviously, lists are not public yet. They'll be public in the event and then posted after the event.
Yeah.
But taking a look at what's been successful online, Omni seems to be doing quite well. It also is a combo deck, so sometimes you get to do this thing where you just top deck your Abrello's Awakening and then you win. It's always been a reason why I like combo decks, because you can navigate them very, very well. And then sometimes you can just get rewarded for just shuffling them up, which is always like pretty beneficial in the long run. And look, like, taking a look at this meta, you could argue that you're silly for not playing Prowess.
Yeah.
That means that everyone who's registered a deck is relatively confident in their Prowess matchup.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I know that Domain Overlords won the last Pro Tour in the hands of Matt Nass, absolute mad scientist that Matt Nass is. Doesn't surprise me that they won the Pro Tour. But Domain Overlords can kind of do this thing that Omni does, but its 2-card combo doesn't win the game. It's Zer plus Leyline Binding.
Yeah.
Like, these huge swings of life can be pretty important. But obviously, it's not the only thing that's relevant, because of like 42% of the meta. So is, you know, if it was easy enough to gain life to beat it, I don't think it'd be that easy.
Yeah, I think the problem that Domain had with Prowess back in Bologna was that it was just seen as too slow, because you just play Slick Shot on a plot, so you've got protection for the Leyline Binding, and if you want to hold it up, then you're preventing them from just, you know, sort of like extending their game out even more. So if your Domain opponent's not doing anything and you've got a Slick Shot or even 2 plotted, then you can just take your time and wait for them to tap out or to interact on a different axis, and you can just play your Slick Shots for no mana, cast a load of spells, and then just kill them on the back, like, for out of absolutely nowhere.
Yeah, that's why the deck is so good. If you paired into Omni, Cory Seal Cut is a really tricky card for us to deal with.
Yeah.
If you're Slick Shotting, then, well, I have to have one of my Into the Floodmoors, whatever. It's just tricky. Standard is actually quite a sorcery speed format at the moment.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, essentially, the threats are much more efficient than the counter spells, so counter spells aren't really seen play. The removal that is quite good, like Get Lost, has really fallen off, because mono reds with their Valiant triggers can make good use of map tokens, and you don't want to give an aggro deck an avenue to draw out of it.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It's so easy for them to make a monk token, double map twice, draw 2 lands, I guess, and then go on from there. What I would say, the absolute absence of black in the format is actually super surprising. because it wasn't too long ago where Shelley was a problem, Children of the Apocalypse.
Yeah, people were calling for a ban on Shelley like this time last year.
Yeah. And that's it. Dan, it's almost like we are partners on a. It's like brings me beautifully into the next point I want to talk about. Bans. I'm not gonna sit here and suggest bans, but I do think that as a community we are a little too quick to call for bans, and I think I figured out why. Do you want to hear my take, or do you want me to stop talking?
I'm ready for it.
Yeah, let's go. Because everyone's such a crybaby. No. So, Modern is one of Magic the Gathering's flagship competitive formats. It's not an opinion, that's the fact. Modern Horizons has been outside of Universes Beyond some of the most successful formats or sets that we've ever seen. And I think that Modern is like, the expression like bringing a gun to a knife fight.
Yeah.
Modern's the gun, Standard's a knife fight. And I think that we see such powerhouses in Modern kept in check by the format answers. For example, Boros Energy is really strong, but has been kept in check since the One Ring's gone, etc., etc.
Yeah.
And I think that the issue that people have at the moment, Cory Seal Cutter is a fantastic example, and VV is also kind of placed on the same point. We are currently seeing more new cards every day than we've ever seen. It's less than a week until Edge of Eternity spoilers. We're always seeing.
That's insane to me. We've just had a new
it's
set.
crazy. Yeah, and arguably one of the most important time. I don't think that's. We'll put that as a title, clickbait. But it is a super important set.
Yeah.
So you see cards like Cory Seal Cutter. They pop up in Modern. And they pop up in Standard. Modern can keep it in check. Standard can't really keep it in check because Modern will have the answers forever because there's so many cards in it, and Standard just can't. And at that point, you see cards like Underworld Breach that do start to constrict and swallow the format, and it has to get banned and it's gone, and that's fine. And I think people are just so used to seeing these absolutely insane cards get banned in Modern, and then they're seeing the parallel of these very strong cards play in Standard and in Modern.
Yeah.
And then they sort of expect Wizards to treat the format the same way. It's literally like disciplining children. I don't know why I'm going to say your kids because none of us have kids, but kids react differently to different forms of discipline, and you can't treat Standard like Modern because, to be honest, at this point, I think you'd have to ban at least 10 cards, maybe.
You probably will do.
So, what do you think the answer is?
I'd imagine anyway that we're going to do like a proper episode, sort of closer to the BNR. It's a week on Monday. So I think we...
Is it only a week on Monday till the ban?
So the 30th of June, that's when the BNR's scheduled for. For me, I think, at the minute, if we look back on the last few major tournaments of Standard, in my opinion, Cory Seal Cutter has to get banned in Standard, because in Bologna it was 20%, give or take, and then the RC the week after, it went up to 30%, and then the week after that, it went up again. It was just going up and up and up and up, and now you're at the PT level, and these pros are, like, 46% of the pros are playing, 42.6% of the pros are playing this deck that has 4 Cory Seal Cutters in. Vivi, I think, needs time, because if you just have this new set, this marquee set that's just come out, and if you ban arguably one of the best cards in the set for Standard, maybe for Modern, there's not really been a lot of stuff coming out of it. It's just slotted into the Affinity deck.
Yeah, he's playing some like Jeskai Sensilis, and like it definitely fits into that Mox Amber, Mox Opal, Mishra's Bulbul soup that we've seen kicking around for a while. But to be honest, like, as always, that deck punishes your 1-for-1 interaction spells. But like, I played against a VV pile the other day, and like, VV is a 3-mana 0/3 in Modern that doesn't really do anything straight away, and like, it's very solitudable, if that's a phrase I'm allowed to use. Is that a verb, solitudable? Or not? Yeah, it's just, It's very solitude one. As again, you can flex your muscles in standard all you want, but you're literally coming to swim in the big pool now. You gotta be super resilient. And to be honest, Dan, just to talk about VV a little bit more, I think the issue with VV isn't how good is it prowess is. I think it's how good mono red is.
Yeah.
Let me show my work, and I've got a big whiteboard behind me. But essentially, right, there are very few cards in standard that deal with a 0-3 efficiently. A 0-3 that grows as well, right? So, is it prowess is the most popular deck? So you're not playing black. Because if you play a black-based mid-range deck, you're going to get eaten alive. Steel cut. Yeah? So, you're playing reds because red's the best color in the format.
Yeah.
So you can't play cards like a Braid and or Suplex. Suplex from Final Fantasy, I think it's a sorcery version, because it's just too inefficient, because you're going to get run over by mice.
Yep.
So VV has to die in the turn it's played. Well, nobody's really playing 3-mana removal spells. I guess you've got Torture Tower if you bargain it, and I guess you've got Witchstalker Frenzy from the red piles.
You got Lightning Strike as well.
Yeah, VV is fantastic if you untap with VV, and a lot of people are able to untap with VV because nobody's playing removal spells for VV because all the efficient ones have to answer the 1-2-3 combo punch of mice. So I don't actually think. Let me get this correct because I don't want to be ridiculed online when I'm wrong in too much time. But I don't think VV is actually as good as they look right now, essentially. For one, I'm not sure about you. I recognize who VV is from Final Fantasy.
Never played.
Okay. Nope. Damn right. Points dead in the water. I've never played a Final Fantasy game. I recognize VV. So for one, for the first time ever in Magic, we're seeing cards associated with, like, imagine it, to prove my point, imagine it wasn't VV, imagine Darth Vader, right?
Okay, yeah.
So,
I can get behind
it's,
that.
Yeah. So for one, oh my god, it's very cool. It's this character. I just think that as time goes on and the format shifts, because let's say worst case scenario, there's one ban, it's Corey Steelcutter, let's move on. The format is going to shift and adjust. That card is so go for the throatable. That card, VV has a throat. VV is not a sheriff. No. VV is a sheriff, so gets shot.
He wears a hat, he's got to be a sheriff.
Yeah, you see, a hat like that, in these parts, we call those sheriffs. Yeah. So, look, VV gets stabbed, VV gets shot, VV gets strangled behind a tree. I'm not sure what card that is, but, you know, like, I think that you gotta... I don't think VV can even equation of how brutal it, or bannable it is. Like, it's just not even there in the cards.
No, I agree. I think for me, like, even if you like hold off playing your Vivi on the turn that you could possibly cast it. So on turn 3, wait till turn 4, you play it, and then you hold up, say Monster's Rage. Then it's definitely not going to die to any of the spells. Because usually, if you play, I don't know, a Slick Shot Show Off and you try to shock it, then if you play Monster's Rage on it, it's not going to die because of the roll token. Now, Vivi gets a +1/+1 counter and the roll token, so it's now a 5 toughness creature, so it's like just Witchstalker's Frenzy that kills it, outside of the, say, like black removal spells. And then from there, you could just you could just get a load of mana through Vivi, and like I said again, just cast your Stock Ups, your Ops, your Sleight of Hands, and just keep the train going and be that conductor.
I do have to say there's a lot of even discussion online about I've submitted deck lists whether you should play VV or not. A lot of people are actually not playing VV because of card availability. My favourite tweet I've seen so far is Canisters.
Yeah. That
there's like, according to this meta game percentage, it's like €15,000 Pro Tour.
I see him.
Yeah, that is very funny.
So I say sort of the same hand, really. I've seen that Alex Rohan tweeted out his blue-red prowess list, and it had no VVs in. I'm like, is this bait? I couldn't really tell. It could just be card availability. I don't know, but
yeah,
to me the card's great. It fits right into that blue-red prowess shell, and if you're not playing VVs in that shell, then you probably should do.
Okay, interesting.
If it's a card selection thing, then it's completely understandable.
Yeah, I think VV might suffer from the problem that we see a little bit. Like every now and then, like in someone's modern deck, they'll play a standard card. So like, I'm trying to think of an example because now I just sound like not very nice. But like,
I played Anoint with a Fiction in Hollow One.
There we go.
There we go.
Perfect example. Thank you, Dan. You saved me there. Yeah. So like, people go, "Oh, this is fantastic in modern," and then they'll play it as a one of, see it once, kills a Ragavan, and they're like, "But this is insane." And it's just that sort of like the issue VV has is red blue is currently the color combination in standards.
Yeah.
And it's a red blue card.
Yeah.
So it must be good in my red blue deck.
Yeah.
And like, I think that actually that's not how you can assess a card's playability. It has to be put through the absolute ringer. And the fact is, let me just put it this way. Let's say that I was qualified for this Pro Tour. And I went, oh, wow, I'm likely playing Cutter. I'm going to order €200 worth of this Sheriff.
Yeah.
I'm going to be playing it in my deck. Yeah. At that point, it's a matter of principle. I don't know. I'm excited to see how VV actually plays, but we've not really seen too much impact from the other Final Fantasy cards, have we?
No, not a whole lot. There's been, like Sasha's Chocobo is seen play in some zoo lists, just as another one drop. It gets quite big, should play a lot of lands. Some amulet lists are playing the Wandering Minstrel?
Yep.
But yeah, not a whole lot.
How about because this is very funny, because this is going to be almost like 22 for Magic players. Is it a good thing that Final Fantasy isn't in every 75, isn't in every standard deck, isn't in every modern deck, isn't in every legacy? Is that a good thing, or would you say that's a failure of the set?
I wouldn't say it's a failure, because it's definitely going to be one of the most popular sets of all time. You're going to see a lot of Commander players getting it because it's Commander. They buy every set, and it's also Final Fantasy, probably the I can't speak tonight. Possibly just like the most successful standalone IP that they've done. So bringing that into Magic, they're going to be getting a lot of custom from just the Final Fantasy fans. It was nearly impossible to get to a pre-release. Our game store, our LGS, had offered one sort of like 2 days before. It's, we've got kits in, come to pre-release. First come, first served, and it sold out within like on the day. So it's definitely successful, but whether all the cards, all in every Magic set, you're not gonna have 200 to 300 playable Magic cards. You're gonna have chaff. You're gonna have the cards that just don't work in any format whatsoever. Some of them, like Sigil Starfish from like Journey to Nyx, that's a little pet card of mine. But it's bad. You can't play it. Sam's googling it. I can see it in his face now.
Oh my god, these cards. What would this card do in 2025? Do you think?
Nothing.
2 mana, tap.
It blocks Ragavan.
Yeah, it blocks Ragavan. Yeah.
But
that's a good card.
I wouldn't say that it's necessarily a bad thing that it's not impacted sort of any of the metas as much as what it probably should have done. Like if we look at the mice packages, standard perfect example, that set was out for a long time before anyone actually realised that Manifold Mouse plus Heartfire Hero equals good time. So I think if you give the set a bit of time. The pros haven't been playing too much online and have not really been sharing as much because they've been testing for the PT.
For the Pro Tour, yeah.
So I think if we wait until after the PT, then we'll probably see a lot more content coming out.
Yeah, I just think that because looking at this, it's pretty dismal and depressing. We've kind of said it's people playing what they know because it's Pro Tour. The Pro Tour is not the time to try out your brew. Probably not anyway. I don't know. I've never been to one, but it's probably not the time to try out your brew. It is playing. Why would you not play the strongest thing you could for the Pro Tour? You know what I mean? It is people. It's sort of like it's less exciting, but it's definitely an eat your vegetables type of format. where you just got to do the boring stuff, whereas your spotlights are much more like dessert before tea type stuff, where you get to play funky decks.
Yeah.
I don't think these foods metaphors are hitting at all, so I'm going to swiftly move off them. But no, look, this is depressing, but like it's to be expected of the Pro Tour, and I think that there's a weird dichotomy. Although Final Fantasy hasn't impacted Standard at all, so why is Universes Beyond in Standard? Is then compared to, oh my god, every day Final Fantasy, you've pushed this because it's Universes Beyond, why is it in Standard?
Yeah.
So like you can't really keep everyone happy.
No, you can't.
And you know what? I've seen a lot of comments that are saying, oh, I'm not tuning in, it's gonna be Is It Mirrors all day? For one, my favourite thing to do in the world is to watch somebody who knows how to draft. Because I don't. I just pick the fun cards, but like watching commentators who know how to commentate on drafters who know how to draft is actually so fun. It's so sick, and you can learn so much. To be honest, I am not a big fan of watching drafts, but that's just limited in general. I love drafting, don't love the actual games. I wish there was a format I got to draft and then draft again and then just not have to play any Magic. But I just think that watching Magic at a high level is actually quite fun, and like that's why they stream these events, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like you get attached to somebody who's who being like, I don't know, Paolo Vitor Damone Rosset. Years and years ago, I hooked onto him in a random PT. I was like, I'm gonna follow him, see how well he does, and he made like he became like 16th or something like that.
He usually does, yeah.
Yeah, usually. So it's fun for me. It's fun. It's like watching your favorite football team just going up through the tournament, see how well they do.
Yeah, and honestly, this time there are some incredibly strong teams, and there are some incredibly strong players. We've even had people on the show who are going to be playing this weekend. So it's cool to watch them and keep up to date with them and wish them the best of luck. I guess what I'm trying to say is, yeah, it looks rubbish, but sometimes it has to. Like, this is not the time. There used to be so much more time before. You gotta remember that I've just said the draft games are like not something I usually watch, but they are the most important games we're playing all week.
Yeah, they are.
They really, really are.
Yeah.
There's somebody who went like it was either 10-0 or 9-0-1 in the modern portion of Pro Tour Mon Horizons 3. Their name escapes me, so apologies. But basically, they were the best performing modern player of the weekend. And they were on Espagorios, which was not really on anyone's radar for that weekend.
No.
And I'm pretty confident they were undefeated. Weren't even in contention for the top 8 because they did poorly in 2 drafts. And like the drafts are where people end up. So because now there's so little time, between. It's been a week. We've just said it's been a week, right? It has been a week of Final Fantasy being on shelves.
And we've got a Pro Tour for it already.
Yeah, most of these like players are going to go, right, we're looking in cutter, and I'm going to draft, and get those 2-1s or 6-0s.
That makes a lot of sense, to be fair, because, like you said, draft's easily the most important bit. So if you just look for a deck that's already well established in a format and that's really, really good in the format, and you know how to play it, then you don't really need to spend too much time on your constructed testing. It's more so just on your limited testing, your drafts. It's not a lot of time to go from pre-release to a Pro Tour in the space of a week. So.
Exactly, and like limited is so much harder to test than it is to test standard.
Yeah. If
you want to play standard, you can play a challenge every day. Like, as much as I enjoyed the fresh air of standard, most of the games are decided sequencing. I think that just because the power level is lower. I'm not saying there's no such thing as a good standard player, but the sequencing matters much more in a format like standard. Because, a lot of the cantrips, you lose most of without your true cantrips and true, like psychic frog type effects, you lose most of your agency, and you kind of just have to cast them when you draw them. And like it comes down to those micro decisions I always refer to as windows in game to get through there. So yeah, but most of if you're testing standard for the Pro Tour or modern Tour, I think you're doing it wrong. Probably. I don't know. I've never been to one. I've never been invited. Yeah.
One day we'll get there. One day. Who knows?
Well, I mean, like,
who knows? Christian might just buy his plane tickets to go support Marco in Pro Tour.
Doesn't mean we get to play in the Pro Tour though. Dan.
I mean, we could. We could just rock up at a random table and say, "Oh yes, hello, I'm Marco Del Pivo. Nice to meet you."
Moving on to the construction. Maybe, Dan. Maybe that's my dream. Not my dream. I just want to quickly highlight that standard is getting a lot of like shredding online now, and I think that Dan's already touched upon it beautifully in our discussion here. That there are so many sets in standard right now, and they are trying something new because the old standard didn't work. So rather than me sat here going, "Oh, it's not working again," I'd rather them try something different, just like Legacy. But it's definitely like not every rare is going to be playable. You got to think of a format. How many cards in your set, commons and uncommons?
Yeah.
How many of them rares or how many of them are mythics? And we typically see 1 or 2 mythics, 10 or so rares, then a cheeky amount of commons and commons. Like if you look at prowess right now in standards, it's mostly commons and commons, right?
Yep.
You've got Monastery Swift Spears, you've got Sleight of Hand, you've got another cantrip.
Opt.
I thought it was Opt, I just didn't want to embarrass myself. You've also got cards like Into the Floodmaw. You've got
Monster Rage.
Monster. So like, as much as you open a pack and you look at the red, the actual building of your standard formats are commons and commons. The strong commons and commons exist and see play forever. I always remember during like the original Shadows over in Australia block, there was like a little cycle of vessels that like they were enchantments you could sacrifice on the battlefield. I think the green one's called Vessel of Nascency.
Yeah.
And it's basically like an ancient Syrian type effect, like you mill 4 and pick a permanent. That's all play from the beginning to the end of that card's life.
I have PTSD over that card. The amount of times I got one of them cracked and then an Emrakul was dropped like 2-3 turns later.
Yeah. Like scary stuff, right? But that's just that was a building block of that cycles or that format, because not every card in cast be rare. It's not modern. You know, even the lands in modern are rares, which isn't really the case here. Like I don't get to play 16 fetch lands. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is, because standard currently is such a long rotation, Opt is probably one of the best cards ever made. Probably top 100, maybe. Sleight of Hand, same bracket. Like, you're not beating modern power cantrips.
No, you're not.
So they are going to take the driver's seat of these builds play forever. And like, Final Fantasy is a set that is like quite an odd one. The commons and uncommons that I see in play are strong, but they're not stronger than what we've already got. And that's the issue with standard at the moment. The only way to change the best deck in standards is more power creep. And that's nothing nobody wants.
Nope.
It just isn't.
Then you're just in an endless cycle of more power creep and more power creep and more power creep. And the next minute you're playing vintage.
Yeah, I do think Ori Steelcut being so good in modern as well does leave a bad taste in people's mouths. Like, it's a pretty good example of power creep, right?
Like, we're all in an agreement on Shad Magic that the blue-red prowess deck in modern isn't great. It's only great when you've got Corey Steelcut out. Like, if you've got turn 2 cutter into Bauble, you know, that's the nuts and that's what you want every single time. But the fact that that's in standard and you can go like, I don't know, turn 3 Corey Steelcutter into Slick Shot, get a token, and then attack Monster Rage.
It's pretty gross, and like as we've already touched on, standard just doesn't really have the answer to deal with that.
No.
It's a shame, because like I do want standard to be better, but like so many people play Magic now, and so many people care about doing well in Magic now, which is a great thing. These decks do not take long to get cracked at all.
No.
Which is like, I guess okay, but at the same time, I I don't even know what they could do on June fix it, but I hope that the only thing I need Wizards here, and this might be controversial, I need Wizards to acknowledge that there's a problem.
Yeah.
Even if they don't have the answer straight away. Nobody should expect them to have the answer to a perfect standard format on the 30th.
Yeah.
It's unfair.
Yeah.
It's unfair.
But what they've done it with, sorry Sam, to cut you off.
No, it's all right.
They've done it on the last BNR. They said, "Oh, we're going to ban Underworld Breach, and we're going to keep an eye on Boris Energy, for example."
Yeah, I exactly. They need to acknowledge that there is somewhere. If it takes them a couple of months to figure it out, I don't care. Yeah. But like, it's the whole Legacy's fine, and you've got you can't do that with standard. So, look, there is probably going to be a ban or two. I'm not going to predict what it is because at this point, they will ban a card and be like, yeah, all right, fair enough. Like, it's any one of 10, 15 cards. It'd be funny if they just banned VV and carried on. Actually, no. But no, I just think that they need to at least acknowledge something isn't quite working, and I don't think that we can be mad at them for that because, as we've said, last standard didn't work either. At least they're trying.
Yeah.
At least they're trying. And that people are quite bitter and quite cynical about Wizards of the Coast, but I have to admit that 9 times out of 10 their ban philosophy is spot on. And if you pay attention and listen and feel the format, like a herbalist outside with a tree, you could really... what I'm saying is most of the time, spot on with ban announcements, because it's actually not that tricky to find out, they're a company, but they're also a games company, so where do we go from? Yeah. So, Dan, we kind of ranted for a while, and I want to pose to you a question. What, sorry?
Yeah, we definitely have ranted for a little while.
Sorry, I thought you said only you have then. I was
no.
I was like, that's why I leave.
No, come on. I wouldn't throw shade at you like that, Sam. Please, come on.
Well, you would, just off camera, off recording, never recorded, always. True. Right. We have Is a Prowess, top dog.
Yep.
Omni Combo, second dog.
Yep.
Mono Red Aggro coming in third, and then we have Domain Overlords, Domain Midrange, and Jund Roots. I'm not going to read off the other decks. Name me your top 8 on Sunday. And we'll see who's right.
I'm going to say it's going to be 5 blue-red, 1 Domain, and it's going to be Matt Nass. Exactly Matt Nass on Domain in the top 8, right? He's just got the exact same list from his last PT win. And there's going to be... I don't know, because it's a PT, so anything can happen. I'm locked in. I'm locked in on 5 blue-red prowess decks. They're going to be the top 8, and then maybe 1 Domain, 2 more spots, 2 more prowess decks, 7 is the prowess decks versus Matt Nass. That's going to be the top 8.
Yeah, have you seen that meme where it's 5 whoppers and 5 more whoppers? That's what you just done.
Yeah, that's what it's going to be
4 prowess decks and 2 more prowess decks. I was going to say 7 prowess. That's actually really annoyed me.
It's so hard.
You said 5.
Though. It's so hard to predict. These are the best players in the world currently, and they're all fighting for the same thing, for that world's fighting for a big wad of prize money. So they've all
stack of cash. Yeah.
42%'s a lot.
It's a lot, yeah. Even statistically, it's at least half of the top 8.
Yeah.
Statistically, it must be. So I'm actually going to go. I really wanted to say 7, and if it's 7 now, I'm going to be so annoyed. But I'm going to go 6 is a prowess, and I'll do a proper countdown style, and I'll take 2 from anywhere else. But I think it's going to be one thing I will think. And this is my hot take for the Pro Tour. 0 Omni in the top 8.
Oh.
0 Omni in the top 8. And I think it's going to have a pretty tough week.
Yeah. Let us know, let us know in the comments what you think is going to be, your top 8.
Yeah. You in first. I'll be in a very respectful 7th. And then no one else turned up because they forgot what day it was. We'll go with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Battlechads final, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
Dan, is there anything else you want to touch upon, or do you think we've
No, mate, all good from me. Thank you, Sam. What about yourself? Anything you want to touch on?
Yeah, I just want to touch upon that we are now at 5 subscribers. Naturally, this podcast has been going for over a year.
Yep.
We've only hit 500 since me and Dan joined, so we will take that as a yeah. It's all us. Thank you very much.
It must be. It's got to be, right?
It must be. Statistically, there's going to be 7 Is of Prowess decks in the final, and battlechads are only popular because me and you. So we'll go that way. No, thank you very much for your support. I want to shout out everyone who watches.
Yep.
Whether you enjoy the content, hate watch it, leave us nasty comments or nice comments. We appreciate it all. And a special shout out to anyone who's actually been on. A lot of members of the Magic community contributed to making this podcast what it is, and we always love having you on. And we've, at this point, I don't think we've had a bad guest. Everyone comes on ready to rock and roll, and it's always been fantastic.
We had a Belcher player on at some point last year, though. It was before me and you joined, right?
Yeah, well, some could almost say audition, and I failed it, but it's okay. Thank you very much. We are going to be doing a giveaway very, very soon in relation to the 500 subs. We have these lovely UltraPRO sleeves. What cards in this, Dan? It's about to roll on. But we're going to be doing a giveaway. UltraPRO is our sponsor. Thank you very much, UltraPRO. We actually really appreciate all the gear that we get. It's very, very cool. Also makes me sound cool at like Christmas and stuff.
Yeah,
I'm sponsored, Mom. Leave me alone.
Don't get me other sleeves. Get me these sleeves instead because I'm #sponsored.
Or I can get arrested. No, I think genuinely, thank you if you've made it this far. This episode's been a bit more relaxed. I've quite enjoyed it. I've enjoyed the casual conversation. I am excited for the Pro Tour.
Yeah,
what I will say is, even if you don't like the way it's looking, just tune in, give it a watch. These big events are fantastic, and tune in and watch the meetings. Yeah, it's just sick. Even Dan put it the best way. If all the football teams are rubbish, support your favourite one. Let's just have some fun at that level instead. I'm going to be the people I'm rooting for. But no, thank you very much for making it this far. You can do all the usual stuff. You can like, subscribe. We got there. And it just, again, helps out a lot. And helps us have these lovely guests. So Dan, my brain is starting to work.
Yeah, I'll take over. That's fine.
Yeah, okay. Right, I'm gonna go and have a long lie down. But thank you very much, everyone. We will catch you next time.
Thanks, everyone. Bye bye.